Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central. It's the last day of the week. Bittersweet feeling. We're excited to go rest because it's been a long and eventful week, and at the same time, we're really going to miss you. Welcome to Breakfast Central, where we bring you all the right information you need, insightful conversation, the latest news and discussions in the country and beyond. I am Benga Aboroa.
My name is Joe Hanson, and I'm welcoming you to this day's edition of Breakfast Central. The very last for the week, but not the last on our breakfast show programming. That's because starting from tomorrow, you would also enjoy what is called Breakfast Extra. An extra to Breakfast Central with Judith and Mazino.
Because we understand you need to eat 7 days a week.
Yeah, 7 days
You can't just eat from Monday to Friday.
You need to, we have to ensure that you're well fed. With deep and in-depth analysis, not forgetting to unadulterated news coverage and reportage. But let's leave tomorrow and focus on today, because today we are glad to be here and to bring to you some of the biggest and latest stories. Our guest will be looking forward to join us from different parts of the country and possibly also outside of Nigeria. But as we usually do in our tradition when we start off the show, we do, first of all, we call the stretch. Yes, the morning stretch, basically known as wake-up conversations, where we look at some of the biggest stories that you may have missed all through yesterday night, and we would bring it afresh to your hearing on a Friday morning. It goes from Monday all through Friday. So today is Friday, and on the Friday morning, we're going to start off with the wake-up conversations. But before then, it's been a mixed reaction, especially on social media, Gbenga. Yesterday when we had a review assessing the president's 2 years in office, I did see some comments, especially from the report and the package that was carried out, not forgetting to the Vox Pop that was done by our producer as well. We did see a lot of Nigerians go online and react to that Vox Pop. I'm
sure a lot of the comments were positive.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And one of the key indicators for me was to see that Nigerians were reacting rather differently compared to what the current ruling party is also saying. So they are applauding the president, they are applauding the works that they've done so far so good, which we would not say in hindsight that they haven't done anything. They truly have. But in terms of the feedback from the other side, which is the citizens, the people in whom you've been saddled with the responsibility to watch over, to rule over, they are not really enjoying what is going on.
And what do you think the biggest issues are?
I think the biggest issue, if you ask me, is hunger in the land. And when we say by hunger, we mean the cost of living. Transportation has increased in terms of livelihood. You need to move around. There's no one who doesn't move around and is expected to actually survive. So transportation is key. Food is a major.
You need to feed the body that does the work.
Exactly. Yeah. Without feeding the body, it's going to be like you're just wasting so much time.
You're waiting to die. I mean, you need to eat to stay alive, so it's an essential.
So these are the things that I can pinpoint now. We can go on and on and on, but I'm sure that when we delve into our wake-up conversations, we'll get to see some of the major issues, especially from education, which has gotten a lot of persons talking as well.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, let's get straight into it. Yesterday, we celebrated 26 years of uninterrupted democratic exercise since 1999, 10 years of APC's government. And it's really sad that students writing WAEC had to do it with candlelight at night. I mean, this is really disappointing. But then again, people won't be surprised. And I hate that when things don't work, it's synonymous to say, no be Nigeria be this. But let's watch this video and then we'll come back and discuss.
Oh, I need the exam. What nonsense. Student, eh? On the paper, she's so gazette de Gilego.
Everybody will go.
That's like 10, he was showing his time, that's 10:38 or 35 or something.
How did an exam, 11:38?
11:38,
I mean, who's
beg your
responsible
pardon.
for this? How did an exam spill to that late at night?
Well,
What sort of exam?
let's get the context.
Okay.
WAEC simply came out with a statement mentioning that they had to, students had to sit for that exam because they got a whirlwind of information that the questions were leaked. So since they were leaked, they said despite the fact that they tried all they could to subvert, to run away from ensuring that the questions were leaked, it was eventually leaked. And since it was leaked, the best option that they had was to ensure that they had to review the questions all over again and do a little bit of changes here and there. Hence, why we have this situation.
I mean, who's responsible? The person should be fired. This is a very, pardon my language, a very lame excuse. I mean, it's one thing to ensure the integrity of the papers, that they are not compromised, they don't leak. There was a breach of trust somewhere, number one. Number two is, I don't know the person in their infinite wisdom. We haven't even finished addressing the jam issue of people waking up too early. Now, this guy is taking it too late. How can students be writing examination at 11, knowing the security situation in the country? It's just ridiculous, and there's no provision. Look, I'm not even going to talk about the light issue, because you're not supposed to be writing exams at this time in the first place. So if that person didn't ask the students to write WAEC at such a late time, there won't be any issues about power. It's just, I really don't understand how anyone thought this was okay to do to other people's children. It's ridiculous.
Binga, this is the height of irresponsibility.
Exactly.
This is completely irresponsible. Are we in a jungle or we are in a country?
Or if they don't write that exam on that day, will heaven fall?
Get it.
Cancel the exam and let them receipt.
I don't get it. Are we in a jungle or are we in a country? When I saw this video, I couldn't help but say, truly, a lot of things are collapsing in Nigeria. A lot. Not too long ago, a few weeks ago, we talked about JAM. Now we have not even gotten away from that. Here we are, faced with WAEC. I mean, we all sat for this examination, if you're a Nigerian. Yes. And we know the circumstances in which we sat for the examination. In our schools, for some of us, spaced sitting arrangements, but relaxed and so on. Parents should take note that if their children don't pass these examinations, they have no reason to chastise that son or daughter.
Exactly.
Because
look at the conditions.
Look at the condition. The mosquitoes, the heat.
I mean, who does
no
this?
Light.
Somebody signed off on this.
And somebody said, and they called someone. I mean, where's the Minister of Education? Talking about Dr. Lausa. And somebody called and said, oh, we're going to write this examination at 10 p.m. and the minister approved.
Maybe he didn't get all the way.
Okay. Then it means that the minister should be talking to them. It means the minister should be addressing Nigerians latest today. But this didn't happen. This video didn't come out today. It came out about 48 hours ago, or if I'm right, 24 hours ago. I know I saw these videos from yesterday, even way back earlier. And it means that it has taken over 24 hours and the minister has not spoken. But WAEC has released a statement to say why they did this.
What's his WAEC saying?
But is this normal?
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
You see, by now somebody should resign.
It's ridiculous.
No, by now somebody should resign.
Okay, if they don't resign, they should be fired. Because somebody signed off on this.
It's an irritable, you could say it's an abnormal process that should not be accepted. Most importantly, I start to wonder if it is an aim or a goal to kill education in Nigeria. I
mean, I don't think it's. I wouldn't go that far. It's
human.
It's human error. But But let's, I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are reacting to this, but let's take some of their reactions. We have a tweet here from, we have a comment from Pastor Sam Adeyemi of Daystar.
Played this video of students of a secondary school that were writing an exam, and because the start was delayed, they had to write the exam into the night. And these young kids were using candles and torchlights to write their exam. And I said it on TV. I said if it was somewhere else where there was value for children, knowing that children don't have less value than adults, I said that was enough to shut down the country. What goes into a mind comes out in a life. If you want to know what the country will look like in 30 years' time, that's it. We're developing cultural taste for mediocrity for them. You wonder why one of them becomes a senator, member of the House of Reps or governor, and completely loses feeling for poor people. That's where it starts from.
Do you need any further addition to that?
WAEC's excuses.
Do you need any further addition
apologize
to
and
that?
blame logistics. I mean, and he hit the nail on the head.
What's the hope for our children?
Exactly. What values? What are your values?
And if the president is celebrating 2 years, and yet he has a minister who has not spoken on this,
I mean,
then the president should know that the next 2 years, there's no magic he would perform that would eventually move Nigerians to say, oh yes, you have done well in the education sector, educational sector. It's just unfair.
And very shameful.
You know, I always say this, and I'm going to say it here. I think there should be a law that must be enforced that all lawmakers, leaders, everybody must ensure that their children school here in Nigeria.
I agree with you 100%.
That law should be looked into. It should be part of the reforms.
They will be forced to improve on the system if that's a law.
Imagine,
they won't pass it.
Imagine a senator's son and daughter were part of that. And imagine, and you know what irks me the most in all of this? There is insecurity in the land. Remember what happened in JAM, how some students lost their lives because they were going to write the exam and they had a car accident? Yeah. Remember the situation of the young girl who took her life because she felt she had failed the examination? Now you're putting children at risk in Taraba and also in the eastern part of Nigeria, writing this examination up until the late night or wee hours at night. And then you expect that, oh, should they be attacked? The question is, if they are attacked, who will now bear the brunt?
multiple failures at different levels. This is very, Nigeria should have moved past this.
And I blame the parents too, I'm sorry.
And then you are right about the Minister of Education. It's a slap in the face of Nigerians. It means he doesn't regard Nigerians. If he hasn't said, this is under his watch, if he hadn't said anything about it.
2 major educational crises.
Well, I think Mr. Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State, did also react to this. Let's take his tweet.
Well, while we wait for that tweet to come up, let's not forget that we've rightly said that 2 major mishaps is taking place.
That's the tweet. All right. Why students using candlelight and phone torches to write exams at night in Nigeria? No child should write exams in darkness or at night. This is injustice in plain sight. I mean, nothing else to add to that. Like we've been discussing the last few minutes. It's just, but let this not be the end of this episode. Why make kids write exams by 9 p.m.? JAM made kids come to exam venue by 6:30 a.m. JAM admitted an error in the results and rescheduled receipt 2 days after the announcement. How is the Minister of Education still retaining his job? Why there's no consequences for mediocrity? I mean, this is a question we talk about all the time. WAEC 0, JAM 0. Students go through stress to take these exams. That barely guarantees anyone a brighter future afterwards. The government is busy doing nothing right other than celebrating Children's Day speeches. It goes beyond the speeches.
It reeks of complete negligence.
I mean, this is abandonment.
Irresponsible abandonment. It's as if, and you know the saddest part of it? Focus on governance has failed. Rather, there's focus on 2027
and campaigning. I mean, that
is simply what is going on.
I did a which way Nigeria on this. That let's fix 2025 first.
Fix it. Focus
before thinking of 2027. And why are these politicians playing God? Do you know tomorrow? Do you know what's going to happen? next year. But this is insulting because it's happening to minors, to children. I mean, how can a country do this to its children, to its leaders of tomorrow? And then everybody comes up on, oh, I'm signing this bill, just playing to the gallery, making Children's Day speeches, when the basic, bro, this is the most basic of functions and responsibility. And you understand PR, take charge if there's errors do happen. We're human beings.
Simple.
If the papers have leaked, must they write it on that day?
Simple.
Cancel the exam, let them receipt on another date, and then you investigate.
Is it plain
It's not their
science?
fault. Is it the fault of the children that the exam leaked?
Nigeria, every morning we wake up and have conversations, especially early mornings like this. People think maybe we're just blabbing, but this is a sign that it's not just talking. It hits deep into the bone marrow. It really does.
And we will stay on this issue until...
No, we have
WAEC
to. I think from Monday we're going to call on the minister every morning on this station and say, Minister, we have not heard from you. It will count the number of days that are going.
Yes,
and we need answers. We need to understand. We need to understand.
Yes.
Anyway, leaving that story, but not leaving it completely, you can react to the story. Do us a favor, go on our social media page right now. Drop your comments. Tell us what you think about the latest issue. Bedeviling Nigeria's educational system, because it seems like we're not done with JAM, we're moving to WAEC. Only who knows which would come next. Maybe the nursery and primary schools will be affected, and then it starts trickling down even to the youngest child of yours. But let's move away from that story now. Let's go to one that was brought to you yesterday. It had to do with, social media sensation. One who tags himself as an artist of popular, in quotes, repute. I'm talking about Speed Darlington. Well, for many who, use the social media, you would understand that he's an artist who's been pushing his music the best way possible. But it seems like he took one too far. Just a few days ago, he put up a post that kind of like solicited or was supporting his motive for having had or laid with an underage child, a girl in particular, whom he claimed was just 15 years of age. We're going to take you back to that video, but let's also warn you that you need not be agitated to what he says, because there's an update on that. But take a look.
Followers, where they follow me, where they say I make video, say, yo, this video is for all of you. I'm an artist. We need controversial to eat. We need controversial to eat. Yes, if they no carry you for mouth, you are not getting booked. Simple. Nobody's booking something that's not trending. I got a new song, Village Girl. The song is talking about fuck this, fuck that. This is my genre, this is my direction. I know they do Christian music. So when I drop on type of music, we need...
This is what we're talking about, that when there are no consequences for actions, I mean, it encourages a culture of impunity, and you think, everything goes. When people still, it's still Nigerians that platform and make people that shouldn't even have access to a microphone, platform them, talk to them on podcasts, make them relevant, use titles like celebrities. He's empty. He's absolutely empty. And all what he's saying is just total rubbish. He's not even sober, because his first excuse was, he made it up, and then now he's saying you need controversy to. Does Adekunle Gold use controversy to be an artist? And it's just rubbish. This is beyond ridiculous.
First of all, let's lay the cards down. It is absolutely wrong for you to lay with an underage child.
Yes, it's a criminal offense.
It's a criminal offense, within the tenets and the law of Nigeria's constitution. However, it also has a child rights protection. That's the law, the child rights law that protects the child, be it the girl or the boy, the child. And we need to clarify something, Binga. You've made a very salient point which I like to pick from. What is wrong with us as a people? Because one, we just touched on the government. What about us as individuals? Are we okay? Do we sometimes sit down and press reset? Those who are giving these so-called people publicity, do you think because you want likes and views, which is what social media has caused, a social pandemic? So because you want likes and views, therefore you promote all nonsense.
That erode our value system.
That erodes the basic value system, moral values. You just put it out there and you think it will not have a ripple effect
of course,
on people, be it in mind or in action. Now, I'm happy that, Speed Darlington has been invited by NAPTIP in Lagos. He has been told to show up. He needs to explain. Coincidentally, I saw another video of him where he said he was talking to his lawyer. It's because he's from the southeast. That's why they're attacking him. That if anybody has foreheads or whatever, I mean, he didn't put it that way, but in other words, it was daring, including activists and all that, and they should attack those who marry out young girls in the north, that they don't have mouth in the north, that if it was a northerner, in quotes, who engages in such, that they will not be able to attack.
It's a silly defense.
Now, that's another
and we're not even discussing that. And why bring tribalism into it? You did something really wrong. The right thing to do is to apologize and sober up. If the Lord is not even, I mean, he claimed it was made up, but I'm glad the government agencies have invited him for questioning. Yeah. And I don't think anybody should invite him for shows or give him.
I'm coming to that.
Yes.
Now, let me break it down. We've looked at the trajectory so far, the process and everything. Now, in case you do not know, while he's talking about the North, yes, the Child Act, the Child Rights Act and so on, some may not apply to certain parts in Nigeria. I mean, that's why the president had said it should be looked into, it should be reviewed.
Adopted by all states.
That's what the president has done. And that's where we say, kudos, Mr. President, well done, because these are critical things you need to look into. But that's the president. What about us as a people?
Exactly.
Do we also uphold it? What if that girl was your daughter? These are things you think about. What if you were promoting this and then it happens to your daughter or your sister? These are the questions you may want to ask yourself. But then again, let's also correct something that is very key, since we also have the platform as a media organization. The mentality that you must get into controversy to get booked. At least I'm privileged. I've worked in the media and entertainment space.
A-list artists
and I've worked with A-list artists, and I've worked in the A&R aspect of this entire industry. You are wrong, Speed Darlington. Completely wrong. Now, let me tell you what you've done. You've debranded, demarketed, and you've reduced your brand to the barest minimum. Now, guess what? No brand under the rights of PR and marketing will want to associate with you now going forward. Have you not heard of artists who may have had issues with sexual molestation and so on?
And they've had endorsements.
And that's where their endorsements are stripped off. You can check the records, many of them, internationally, even locally. We've had cases like that, where they go ahead, engage in very unscrupulous or stupid acts, and what happens to them?
Yes, they lose.
Stripped off.
Their penalties.
Gone.
You lose
100%.
endorsements. You pay for your bad behavior.
Everything.
There are consequences.
So he's saying that, you have to get controversy. No. See, there are better ways to get controversy. And again, take away that word controversy from your list as an artist or anybody. I can advise you for free. You don't need controversy. You need good work. You understand? The person you're talking about, who you attack regularly, I mean, you just mentioned the name, Adekunle Gold. Does he engage in controversy? No. Exactly. Fouls? Name them, all of them. Now, there's difference if you want to be an artist and an activist. Like people like Fouls, I've mentioned, Fela, name them.
Have you ever heard any negative thing about Flavor? And as an A-list artist, it's just ridiculous. We were going to play it up, but I don't want to.
No, please. Let's not promote nonsense on this platform. I mean, this is our time, so we're going to use it wisely to ensure that we educate. But then again, let's make it clear. If you're also an artist and you're watching this, please take note. You don't need this negative controversy. And what he's done is going to take him a long time if he has to face the law to clear his name. And anybody, let's make it clear, anybody who books him you might want to be very careful now, because if you do, the odds are that you are also in support.
who are the people there? It's just
Yeah, they're also in support of what he does.
Yeah, but the people that book him are maybe all those corner nightclubs, and no serious brand would want to associate themselves
It's sad.
with him, even
It's sad.
before this
It's sad.
incident.
I mean, there are stories of artists, there are stories of sportsmen, NBA players, football players. Do you remember a particular football player that plays for Manchester City by name Mendy?
Yes.
Whose career was cut short completely because of one single mention and error.
Whether it was guilty or not, just because
that was
they don't want
all.
to associate their brand with such
Period.
controversy.
Lost all endorsements,
Yes.
lost playing for Man City. He didn't play last 2 seasons, and
Yes.
guess what? It was found out that he
It
wasn't
was false.
culpable. It
Exactly.
was false.
But you
then
are
again,
using your mouth.
But you are not using
even
your mouth to say,
you are looking for-
you are a joker.
Exactly.
You're a joker, you're not ready. Anyway, away from that story, Benga, I don't know what's next, but I think it has to do with what I faced.
You were
days
man.
ago.
We always use you as example
I
of
don't know why.
traffic issues.
Traffic issues.
Maybe you should move away from the island.
Maybe I might think so. But anyway, Lagos residents have continued to lament the heavy traffic that took place between 48 hours ago, and it was a major one. Now, this was a press release that was circulated from the Lagos state government. It says, in the view of the upcoming summit that was going to take place at a hotel, or that took place because it's happened already. They did share a quick traffic diversion advisory and let Nigerians know where they could take. Unfortunately, I was trapped in this traffic, not just me, but many Lagosians. It was kind of like a reminiscent of what took place when they were trying to fix
Famous Guinness World Record shattering traffic that you and Olive were, man.
8 hours.
I'm sure
8
yesterday your
hours
heart was beating that
of
maybe
being
we are
stuck
going to
on
go through
the
same.
road.
And you know all this
And a
advisory,
total
all
of
these
12
advisories,
hours.
because of the volume of traffic and we don't have enough alternative routes. It just it doesn't change anything.
It doesn't.
Really.
It doesn't. And this happened again. It happened exactly on Wednesday. I had to come down from Ikoyi. If you know where you have, let me see. If you know where you have Alliance Française, from
Yes.
there,
The
just a
curve.
little
Yeah, the
turn, a
corner.
little curve. I had to come down from there and trek all the way, climbing the bridge, Falomore Bridge, and I had to come down, took about, 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. But my grace was that it was sunny, very hot.
Wow.
Yes, I would call it grace.
Why do you-
because it was not raining. I would have been soaked.
True.
The driver had to stop and say, fuel is finished. And then the traffic.
That's really sad. Such an
Trek.
inconvenience.
So you wonder, but someone is reacting to it. 2023 Labour Party governorship aspirant, Gbadebo Rhodes Vival, I think his points are clear and straight to the point. He says, I understand that it hurts the president deeply to have lost Lagos in the last election. I don't understand this intro though, but this looks like a jab. But acting like a conquistador as a payback, where thousands of people must endure agonizing stress and chaos consistently every time you're in town, is going a bridge too far. Now, I don't know about that, but this is where I actually agree with him. I lived in Paris for a couple of years, and not once did we experience chaos because the president was driving past our district. When I was in London, not only did I once shop in the same store as the mayor, I have on several occasions been in the same vicinity as the prime minister. Not once did our lives have to pause for the PM to drive or walk past. The obsession with being the big man, viewing citizens as subjects who are beneath and should be trampled on, is the reason you lost in 2023 and is the reason you will lose again in 2027. I don't know about that though. I make call to remind you that you are in office to serve. Now that's the word I love, and that's the word we would continue to highlight here on Breakfast Central. You're here to serve the people, and these same people you have kept trapped in traffic for hours, who missed doctor's appointment and loved one's event, a business transaction, or whose minds have had to endure this humiliation, will certainly have their day soon. We'll stop there.
You know the automatic defense
that
that jumps in. Oh, he's a president, you need to do this. In other countries, then they bring videos of Trump. And do things with a human face. Minimize the disruptions. And what are you doing with the 50-car convoy And if you could use a helicopter, I'm sure there are helipads in these places. Please use helicopters to reduce the. I mean, Lagosians are already suffering on a lot of issues, and then you want to compound this. Imagine if there was an emergency, an ambulance.
There was an emergency while I was checking.
Ambulances can't go through.
They can't. It was complete. Benga, each street was blocked. Ikoyi blocked. Victoria Island Road to Ikoyi blocked. The other side coming from the mainland blocked. Everybody had to wait for as long until the event was done. And then they opened. Good enough. I also witnessed when they opened it. As soon as I got to the island, I noticed that the car started rushing because they had opened the way for people to pass.
This is man-made disruptions.
But then again,
it's really not
my
fair.
question.
I mean, do things with a human face.
My question. Just one question as we wrap up. Could they have moved the ECOWAS event to the weekend?
I mean, it's a possibility.
Say Sunday? Because of the precarious nature of Lagos, being a closed metropolitan city with very minimum transport or transportation ways or roads or network. So it's
my suggestion is also this. They need to build state-of-the-art banquet halls around the airports and around government house, so they will be doing things around themselves. They wouldn't need to disrupt the lives of millions of Lagosians.
Anyway, let's. We do have our guest who's joined us as we begin Breakfast Central this morning. But thanks for staying with us. Don't worry, we're just on a minimal rant this morning because we just need to ensure that you also get a side of us, especially when we talk about these stories when we start off the show. Let's bring to you our top stories as we start Breakfast Central officially for 3 hours.
Assessing President Tinubu's 2-year scorecard. We'll also be looking at Governor Burr worries warns against a rift. Edo government hails court ruling. And Lagos State government plans a waste site at Olusosun. We'll also bring you the newspaper front pages. Remember, you can call in and share your views with us. Do stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly. The African Ambassadors Economic Forum in Washington, D.C. is right around the corner. This Africa Economic event is more than just a high-level gathering. It's a strategic platform for shaping Africa's role in the global wealth shift. With influential leaders from across the continent and diaspora, the forum will spotlight opportunities for collaboration, investment, and long-term economic transformation.
Well, joining us to discuss the essence of this event is Joseph Okechukwu, a documentation and not forgetting to an author. Good to have you here, Joseph. Thank you for being here this morning.
Having me. Morning.
Good morning. I mean, let's look at this. Being the co-chair for the African Ambassadors Economic Forum, main organizing committee scheduled for the 18th of July at the Africa House, followed by other activities on the 19th. What inspired your connection to Africa's economic destiny? And how do you envision the continent's role in the global wealth shift? I mean, just tell us about the event. Let's just start off from there. Let's have a clarity on the event. You want to break it down for us and for the viewers as well?
Oh, it seems to be struggling with network connectivity.
Yeah, very, very, very tough one there. Well, hopefully we can connect with Joseph again to talk about a very interesting event, a landmark event that is set to take place very, very soon. The dates are indeed in July, and there seems to be a lot that's been put in place. Most importantly, we're going to look at the role of the event and how it will indeed impact what Africa would be looking at next few years to come.
And it's very important to have these discussions about the continent. Africa is the most resource-rich continent on earth. We're blessed with so many abundant resources, minerals, and and also people, and is projected to be the continent with the largest population in a decade or more. So all those potentials just lying there. We need to move more beyond resource extraction and exporting raw materials to a very industrial and productive economic base. And I believe these are some of the discussions we'll be having in Washington, D.C. at the African Ambassadors Economic Forum.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, go on.
And it's good that, I mean, it's African Ambassadors Economic Forum, so you have people from different parts of the continent that are bringing ideas from east to west to north to south that would, you know, spur this potential and, you know, bring it to fruition. But we hope to connect to Joseph Okechukwu during the course of Breakfast Central. And we'll hear from the horse's mouth. He'll tell us all the great things that this conference or this forum has to offer.
Absolutely. And don't forget that the goal is to ensure that we enlighten you and other Nigerians, especially Nigerians or Africans in the diaspora, who would be more interested to know what Africa has in store. Not just Nigeria, but we're talking about Ghana, Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Namibia. You could name down South Africa, and so on and so forth. That's exactly what the conversation was to be about, or is about. But hopefully we can get Joseph joining again, and then we have that conversation. But Benga, I think we should look at the waste management next, which is a major
very important, yes,
here in Lagos.
and very controversial too.
Yeah.
But for decades, the Olusosun dump site stood as a symbol of the burden of uncontrolled urban waste. On Wednesday, May the 28th, the Lagos State government signed a landmark agreement with a Ghanaian company to boost waste management and construct a transfer loading station at Olusosun. Though through this new agreement, the state may well be on its way to addressing challenges with waste disposal, collection, and processing, which have now become a major environmental burden. News Central correspondent Bettina Aweli files this report.
State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, this partnership is a bold step forward in efforts aimed at managing over 13,000 tons of waste generated daily in the states. With this partnership, a state-of-the-art transfer loading station will be constructed at Olusosun, serving as a central hub to redirect 2,500 tons of daily waste to a newly planned material recovery facility in Ikorodu. This will allow for permanent closure of Olusosun, a move that not only improves public health and safety, but also significantly reduces the environmental impact of open dumping.
Lagos State will have what it takes to ensure that the thousands and thousands of waste it generates every day now becomes useful, reusable, and properly disposed, so that we can have a more environmentally friendly environment, a more healthy friendly environment, and a more ecologically friendly environment.
In Igondo, the Solus-free dump site will also witness a major shift with a new recovery facility planned for Badagry in a bid to relocating 1,500 tons of waste daily. A bold show of commitment to decentralizing and modernizing waste handling in Lagos, with an assurance of the project completion in 18 months.
We are trying to move the state from a linear waste system that has pervaded the state for decades to a more sustainable and a more environmentally friendly system that will take our waste and not just take them as waste, but see waste as a resource for wealth.
With at least 5,000 direct and indirect jobs expected to be generated, a whole new ecosystem is opening up around waste recovery and circular economy opportunities. From waste processing technicians to logistics and facility maintenance staff, This will also create employment opportunities, teaming youths in the states. For News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Great development there from the Lagos state government. Waste is one issue that most urban cities will have to deal with. You're looking at a population of over 22 million individuals that generate waste every day. So, I mean, urban planners and city planners do have to, what do you do with this waste? But it's good that they're working on a transfer loading station. There's also talks about recycling and turning waste to wealth. You could also extract biofuels from the waste. So it's not, so nothing is truly wasted. We're blessed.
Nothing really.
We're even blessed with waste.
Yes, nothing. I mean, and in a population like that which you have in Lagos, I like the fact that the commissioner, and not forgetting to the governor, have possibly sat down to look at the possibilities and what can be done. Has it taken way too long before they decided to focus on this? The answer is yes. Hence why Lagosians have, continued to speak against the fact that Lagos is smelly, Lagos is dirty. But
I'm sure you know where this is.
Of course, of course. You cannot help but pass Ikeja, the 7-Up area without having the stench.
It's good that they're finally doing something about it.
And there have been repeated calls over the years to find a solution to it, and that's why I'm saying kudos, well done to the Lagos State
and I also,
government for having decided to focus on
this.
There's
something I picked from that report. It's that they will be collaborating with a Ghanaian company.
Yes.
Many times we hear a company from China or Europe, but it's nice that these are the sort of things that the African ambassadors will be discussing. We should do more business amongst ourselves and also expertise. If we see that this country is really good in this industry, or if they have expertise in this field, we should learn to collaborate more with our African brothers. So kudos to the Lagos State government for this initiative. We can't wait for it to come to fruition and also follow up on progress with regards to waste management.
I agree. And just to add that LOMA, which is Lagos State Lagos Waste Management Authority, had also mentioned at the start of April that they would be actually leasing they will be leasing their compactor trucks. The compactor trucks to the private sector for private sector participation. This means that the operators would actually have to bid, and then when they get it, it will see them get to work. Now, this PSP, which is the private sector participation, if you notice, we had more of the PSP, especially during the Governor, I think was it Governor Fashola or So's regime. I remember then, I used to have an office in Yaba. And every time I go towards the Yaba axis, I would find very young girls, driving these compactor trucks. And I was always like, oh, this is good. And you saw them, young girls, young guys, good enough, fair enough. I was able to interact with one of them. And he said that he had finished secondary school. He went to a technical school, but in between while he was waiting, he was able to get advanced and he was able to bid and got that job. Sadly, we don't know what happened in Lagos. We don't have the full details. Yes, it's a hearsay there. But all of a sudden, we don't see these people on the streets again. And it was as if the opportunity for them to have jobs was eventually cut. We don't know.
I think it was, you meant Ambode.
Of course.
Yes, the Ambode administration, when he had his own, but there was a lot of pushback, his own waste management away from Loma.
Yeah, the strategy was put in place.
But yes.
I mean, if they're going to go back to this to ensure that, there could be compactor trucks, you could also have the private sector participation, which is the private sector participation process where, you can give more jobs. I think that will work. Keep Lagos clean.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
But we hear that our guest is back. We tried to connect earlier, Mr. Joseph Okechukwu, but we're having network issues. Mr. Okechukwu, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, fantastic. And it looks like your network is stable now. So let's get straight to it. The Ambassadors Economic Forum I mean, you're organizing, yes, the African Ambassadors Economic Forum in Washington, D.C. on the 18th of July. Could you tell us what this is all about?
Okay, so as the theme implies, it says unifying African leaders to advance U.S.-Africa relations under the 2063 African Union agenda. So it's basically, you know, when some people watching now may probably be hearing about the Agenda 2063 for the first time, but Agenda 2063 is basically like bringing back to life everything that Africans have been crying for all along. Africans want a continental free trade area. They want a situation where we have a single currency that is backed with gold. They want to be able to freely interact with their fellow Africans. They want freedom from colonialism. They want imperialism to die a natural death on the continent of Africa. There are too many limitations we have as Africans. And the dream of every African, especially in this generation, is to see all those bottlenecks, all those bureaucratic bottlenecks that are actually imposed on us, you know, by higher powers, to be completely removed, all those red tapes to be taken out of the way so that Africans can live and thrive on their own land without having to go to embassies and queue upon lines upon lines trying to get visas to travel abroad. In Nigeria, they call it jackpot. We don't need to be jackbarring up and down the whole place just because we want to go to a place where we can get greener pastures. Africa is where the green pasture is. And so this is a situation where we want to bring all the big, talking heads together, all the big African brains and beyond into one room and get them to brainstorm on how we can make what we are planning for 2063 happen in 2025 and beyond. That's basically what this is all about. And as we go on, I mean, I'm going to just read you some of the agenda of what the Agenda 2063 is all about. I have them written down here, and I think that people need to know that as well.
All right, let's shoot then. Let's go ahead and let us know what the agenda is all about.
Okay, so the agenda includes 15 flagship projects. This was set up in 2015, and by 2015, they were already projecting that certain things would have happened by 2020. And I'm going to read you this. Number one, it said, we want a high-speed train network connecting all African capitals and commercial centers. Number two, the formulation of a strategy for transforming the African economy from a supplier of raw materials to one that actively uses its own resources. Because you know what we do in Africa, we basically do raw material supply into Europe. We just grow raw materials and we supply them, okay? Both whether it is agricultural product or our natural resources, all we do is send it over there, they process it, and they can even sell back to us, whether it be oil, whether it be gold, whether it be whatever, which is why a lot of Africans are rejoicing over what has happened in the Sahel region today. Number three, it says the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which I just talked about, the introduction of the African Union passport, and removal of all visa requirements for its holders within Africa. Tell me, why would Africans be traveling to African countries and they will still be having to go look for visas? The same way you look for visas to go to Europe. In Europe, it doesn't happen that way. With your ID card, you can move from one place to another. But in Africa, we still have to go get visas to travel to some African countries. In fact, it's even more difficult to get visas to some African countries than it is to get visas to some countries in the West. It is also more difficult to even get to Western countries by phone or maybe by traveling. You know, it's cheaper than going to some African countries. A lot of nonsensical bottlenecks that just don't make any sense. So number five, it says, ending all wars, civil conflicts, gender-based violence, and violent conflicts by 2020. Has that happened in 2020? No. Has it happened in 2025? No. So we need very radical roadmap on how to make these things happen, not just talk. Because, you know, Africans are known for doing a lot of talking. We want to go from talking to acting. Action is what is needed right now. And that's what this whole program is all about. That we are fed up with talking. We want to go straight to the next stage, which is acting. Okay? Now, the next one says the construction of a third Ingadam, the establishment of the single African air transport market, okay, the establishment of an annual African Economic Forum, the establishment of a set of financial institutions envisaged as an African investment bank, a Pan-Africanist stock exchange, an African monetary fund, and an African central bank. Now what we have is International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and I'm not a fan of any one of those organizations because those organizations, truth be told, are the reason African countries are indebted. We are called debtor continent or debtor nations in Africa because of these organizations, IMF and the rest of them. If we have our own that has its own autonomy and independence, and we are able to oil our own economy indigenously, domestically in Africa, we will not have to take any loan from any IMF or World Bank. These are not just talking points. These are things that are actionable, and we need to get to the point of taking action on them. Okay, so the next one, number 10, is a Pan-African digital data network, very important. A development of a common African strategy for the use of outer space technology. We don't have any representation, serious representation. The establishment of an African open digital distance learning university. Cooperation on cybersecurity. The foundation of a great African museum, preserving African cultural heritage and promoting Pan-Africanism. And the 15th one is the compilation of an Encyclopedia Africana as an authoritative resource on the authentic history of Africa and African life. If we have that, nobody from the mainstream media is going to come out to tell us the story of Africa. We are not telling our stories as it is right now. Other people are telling our story for us. Other people are describing us and defining us. We don't have the voice. What is the network you can point to today and say, this is the main African network that actually takes care of all the issues about Africa, that where Africans have the opportunity to go and express themselves? It is not CNN. It is not BBC. It can never be Al Jazeera. None of them. We don't have a single network. And one of the pointers to a powerful country or continent that you can find anywhere in the world, I will give you some of them. One of them is having nuclear power. Okay? If you have a nuclear power, you are regarded as a superpower in the world. If you have your own network, your own media outlet, your own news network, you are regarded as a superpower. If you look at Britain, they have BBC. If you look at America, they have CNN. If you look at the Gulf states, they have got Al Jazeera. If you look at Turkey, Turkey has got its own. Now look at Russia. Russia has RT. And when the Russia and Ukraine war started, the only reason people got to have the other side of the story was because RT was able to get themselves to speak through Rumble and their own website. Because the moment this war started, you notice that Europeans who are on the side of Ukraine decided to cut off Russia today from all their major satellites. And so they were even cut off from YouTube. But because they have a website, and they were also given a place in Rumble, which is a rival to YouTube, they were able to get some words out. So people can now have a balanced reporting on what is happening in Russia, between Russia and Ukraine. Other than that, everybody will be confined to just having only one side of the story, which is basically what the mainstream media does. They give you only one side of the story, and they don't want you to see the other side. And before you know what is going on, people will start believing that one side of the story. And this is the problem we have in Africa. Where is our media? Where is our voice in the media? Where is that network we can point to and say, this is where we actually go to defend Africa? None of them. It is what they shove down our throat that we are going. So this meeting in Washington, D.C. is basically about bring all these African think tanks. Let us come together and brainstorm, not just brainstorm as usual and stay under the AC and talk, and after talking, everybody will leave. But brainstorm and come up with actionable plans, practical things that we can actually start doing immediately. Let us identify the low-hanging fruit and then start dealing with it from there. What we see happening in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and Niger Republic are things that almost every African has been crying out for. Now, it didn't have to happen that way. It is because Africans are doing too much talking and dilly-dallying and foot dragging up and down. That's why the issue, the thing that is happening in Burkina Faso is happening today. Okay, they couldn't wait anymore. And so we had it that way. But what you see happening in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger can actually happen politically. If our people can decide, you know what, enough is enough, we don't have to wait for a military coup to happen before we can actually embrace the change that will be for the good of Africa, then we can actually make it happen. But if we don't, we are going to end up having this same situation that happened in the Sahel, repeating in different other African nations. Because nobody in Africa today is comfortable with the way the political structure in Africa is structured.
Okay.
Build against, and we want that to come to an end. So that's what this meeting is all about in a nutshell.
I like the fact that you've summarized every single thing.
That was in a nutshell.
I mean, that was enough. And I'm sure everyone who's watching would want to get a real taste by being part of this event. As we wrap up this conversation, I mean, we did have network challenges. Would have loved to spend more time to discuss. But can you share with us the venue, the time once again, so that the Africans in the diaspora can catch it and can start to mark their calendars?
Okay, so this is going to be happening at the Africa House, Washington, D.C., and there's actually July 18 to 20. Okay, Africa House, Washington, D.C., July 18 to 20. So it's Global Initiative for the Advancement of Africa, Global Initiative for the Advancement of Africa, GIAA. So once you go there, go to the website actually, and then you can see some information or just look it up. You know, it's all over the place. So we're expecting to see a lot of people. You can go to the website, it's www.aaeforum.org. www.aaeforum.org. Once you get on that website, you can get all the information you need. There are some people who are on standby to take phone calls and all kinds of stuff and give you directions and give you more information on that you need to be able to participate. And I'm going to be there as well. Of course, there are so many other people coming. I'm going to be there. We're going to have some chats, and then we're going to have fun actually trying to change Africa.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. We look forward to see the highlights. For those of us who are stuck here, we can't fly down. You know, we have to be at work and so on. But we'd love to talk to you again very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, fellas.
All right. Okay, it's been one full hour of conversations. Our next conversation will border on the second year of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as we assess and take a look at the scorecard. But first, let's remind you of what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central. Coming up next here on Breakfast Central for the second hour, just as I rightly said, assessing President Tinubu's 2-year scorecard. Governor Bola warns against rift concerning the delineation. I'm sure you know more about that as well. And Edo Governor hails court ruling. We have all of these and more in a moment.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is marking 2 years in office, says his administration has been marked by bold economic reforms, security challenges, and governance restructuring. According to the statement released by presidential spokesman Bayo Onanuga, the administration had made significant strides in economic stabilization, security, and governance reforms. Here are some key highlights of the statement.
Well, taking a look at the highlights of the statement's economic reforms, in particular, where we're going to start from, talked about the removal of fuel subsidies and unification of foreign exchange rates, were described as necessary steps to prevent a fiscal crisis. Concerning the second aspect, which is infrastructure development, the administration has approved major road rehabilitation projects under tax credit schemes, allowing private companies to contribute to national infrastructure. And not forgetting too, we can also look at the security improvements. The government claims that military operations have significantly reduced insurgency threats in the northeast, with a reported decline in terrorist activities as well.
Despite these claims, many Nigerians insist they have continued to grapple with economic hardship, insecurity, and governance concerns. Join us this morning to further get an assessment of President Tinubu's performance 2 years since assuming office as Publicity Secretary of the APC, Mr. Felix Morka. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Morka. Thank you very much for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning. Now, Mr. Morka, our correspondents felt the pulse. They were on the streets of different parts of the country to mark the second-year anniversary of the Tinubu administration. And what the president and his economic team are saying seems to be different from the voices on the streets. I believe Nigerians' biggest concerns right now from the sample size and from the people we spoke to is the cost of living and, of course, staple food too. So how do you juxtapose both of them? The administration says they've achieved significant economic reforms, and ordinary Nigerians are saying, look, we are yet to feel the impact. What are your comments on this, sir?
What you describe on the side of the government and on the side of our people are not mutually exclusive. Each one side, I think, hold their positions, maybe validly and justifiably. It's not often, not even in the advanced world, in advanced economies, do you have, that, I think, parallel where, governments and the people, or that convergence rather, where government and the people, agree on, I think, their own assessment of the situation. The government may do all in its powers to make life good for our people. And, some people may still feel like it's not enough. Again, government's output and performance and delivery can never be enough. No matter what you do, people still are, I think, free and entitled to expect more. And government is under duty to do more at all times. That's why we have government. That's why we have also, we go from one government to the other. But the fact of the matter is that, anyhow you look at this government, you cannot help but acknowledge that the government has done well. Done well, by so many standards. If you want to look at it from the point where this government was inaugurated, or for that matter, if you want to take the performance of this government within the historical context of Nigeria, any which way you look at it, I think that any reasonable, fair assessment would agree that this president is indeed a president of progress. Now, again, this is comparable to really renovating a house. I don't want to say constructing a house, but renovating any structure, especially when that renovation extends to, the structures of the building. The Nigerian state, the economy of our country was in deep rot for a long time. For a long time, a period that covers the service of several presidents in our country, because some of the deep problems that needed to be tackled were left untackled. All we got from many previous presidents were simply token gestures. Take the fuel subsidy you referenced. Look, virtually every president that has come along in recent history actually tampered with that system of fuel subsidy, which is why fuel was not selling at the price it sold in 1999 when the civil dispensation was inaugurated, and the time that even President Buhari took power. You could tell that petrol had gone from point A to point B in that spectrum of time. So what it meant was that previous presidents actually did remove, fuel subsidy to minuscule degrees. And those were done as reactionary, and if you will, some, momentary treatment of the problem that was still sitting there. The big elephant remained in the room. None of these previous presidents had the political will to confront that problem and to, transform it. This president came along, decided that this problem we have been, romancing all these decades, that really has kept our country down and denied us the opportunity to flourish and to grow and to thrive as a country, as a people, that he needed to solve it. Now, let me say that this president was not unaware that that decision, including the decision to also float Naira and seek a market-determined value for our currency, in order for us to be in that place where people will find us, attractive to come to invest in our country. He knew that those were not going to be popular decisions. And because the potential unpopularity of those decisions were, in fact, the reasons the previous presidents didn't go there. Because nobody wanted to, put their electoral calculations at stake. But this president said, look, the need to save our country and to fix our economy at its roots trumped his own electoral calculation. So which is why when he said on day one, fuel subsidy was gone, he knew exactly the implication of what he had done. He knew that that was going to, really earn him some backlash. But that did not deter him, because that's what leaders, real leaders, that is what they do. They take decisions if they are convinced in the ultimate good that that decision will promote. So, look, if you look at it, we're on our way. The signs of recovery, of a rebounding economy are everywhere. All the data you look at suggests that our country is, the foundation of our economy is recovering and rebounding, and now positioning to support, more sustainable growth, going forward. And I think that is at the macroeconomic level. Microeconomics, what you were referring to about, our people and their, reviews and their position. Some of our people, yes, they have a right to, express those, views, because indeed there has been some, increase in the cost of living for everyone. But those are anticipated, collateral impacts of this pilot, major reforms that this president, introduced. It was expected.
And what has been done to ease the burden of this collateral effect of the subsidy removal? Because prices have skyrocketed across all sectors. I believe we're having connection issues with the APC Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Morka is back. Mr. Morka, just before we lost connection there, I said, what measures, the burden of these decisions, these hard decisions that, even the people that the president was campaigning against did say they were going to remove subsidy. But what has the government done to ease the burden from the people? And why is it that it's the people that have to, absorb some of the shocks?
Look, always when you make policies and policies are implemented, policies that are aimed to correct some distortions in the economy necessarily will have impact on the people. Most times, everywhere in the world, it will have impact. Now these impacts are being managed and being managed sensibly. We have a population of nearly 230 million or 250 million, depending on who you're talking to. That's a lot of people. This government is doing everything to mitigate on the impacts of these, twin policies. For instance, there's been a massive uptick in social investments, the delivery of, food and, cash transfers to the most vulnerable people in our country. The government also, realizing the impact of these policies, negotiated with labor to increase the minimum wage to our people. Government is, again, being attentive to the need to preserve the opportunities for the education of our children, also designed and launched the NEL Fund, providing loans to our students to study who otherwise will not have the means to pay their fees in school. Again, in the area of transportation, which is a critical area that's heavily impacted by the removal of fuel subsidy, the government has come up with, again, the delivery of, buses and the entire CNG program, which, again, we haven't seen before. These are initiatives that, government is thinking ultimately will help to ameliorate the, transport situation for our people so they can get from one place to the other relatively, affordably. Now, somebody may ask, but look, this is not available everywhere. Yes, it's not available everywhere. That's to be considered. But that's also understandable given that this is a fresh program that the government has just launched. And it's very infrastructure intensive. Time is required to build all of the facilities, just like a gas station, so that people can, just dash in and dash out, buy a CNG, power their vehicles, more cheaply, and of course more, in a more environmentally friendly manner to move around. But, so all that I think the government is saying is that our people need to be, just patient so that all of these innovative, measures that government is putting in place will ultimately come to its, fullness, and then begin to transfer those benefits to more of our people. Farmers are getting, a lot of support, whether it's in terms of fertilizers, in terms of access to, small credit, in terms of access to machines. They are getting, some of those inputs that we hope will enable them to, I think, ultimately, produce more efficiently and, grow food and push us towards more food security. So there's a whole lot of micro level interventions that this government is put in place that we're hoping, again, we begin to, help our people to recover from the shocks of this, policies.
All right. Mr. Morka, I think just going into the next level of this interview, I'm just going to ask questions because what we've been able to do is I've been able to pick the top key questions, especially from Nigerians. Having known that you would be on this show, they've sent in their questions, and that's exactly what we're going to ask to you. Coincidentally, you've touched on some of them. So I'm going to start off first with the minimum wage. I don't know if you're aware that a lot of persons in different parts of the country are not being paid the exact minimum wage that has been approved by the president. That's one. And if you are not aware, well, this is a platform for us to also share that some are even earning way below the former minimum wage. And they've also said that it seems like some of these actions taken by the current administration is a beautiful bride on paper, but it does not translate to the real life, what's going on, especially with people. So what's your take on that, especially looking at one, the minimum wage, two, I also like you to touch on the CNG. You mentioned that it's going to take time. Do you think this administration has enough time to implement that? 2 years to go. Or is that the more reason why many feel governance has stopped and focus is on 2027? So these are two questions I've been able to pick from a long list. Let's look at the minimum wage. It's not impacted. And secondly, CNG. I mean, within this act is just one, catering to a lot of areas, neighborhood, and so on. And how would that help the average Nigerian who's still paying a very costly price for transportation?
Thank you very much. Now, on minimum wage, now what the federal government has done in collaboration with labor is to determine that basic minimum, on top of which, more may be added even for the least paid work in the country. Now, I can tell you that, all of those who are on the federal payroll, I think are already receiving this standard of, payments for quite some time. I also know that many state governments and their employees have also worked out figures, sometimes in excess of, the that's been declared by the federal government. I know that a couple of states may be struggling with that. Quite frankly, I can't tell you which states now, but I know that yes, I hear complaints that a couple of places that the minimum wage has yet to be implemented. Now, again, most of those you probably are referring to who may be making this complaint are not people who are in federal or state employment. I know that I hear that quite a bit for those in the private sector or in parts of the informal sector who are really outside of the command and control system of either the federal government or the state government. But all of those employed in the states and the federal system are I think receiving this benefit already. But I think that this is where a democracy works like it works. You don't expect that the federal government is going to wake up tomorrow morning. The government is making all the appeals, encouraging the private sector to, align with this, priority and to help our people to earn more so they can mitigate on the impact of this transient, policies. But I think that it's hard for the government to go from one company to the other, beating them over the head with a stick, to compel them to pay. I think, again, this is where citizenship and patriotism, is called in, because, those who work for you, even as a private company, again, need to, be enabled to do their job, and transportation, food, and providing the basic necessities, by an increased, margin in salary will, of course, help them to be more efficient, more committed, beneficial for the employers of labor, whether on the government side or the informal sector, to do more for these workers who again I think are the receiving end of some of these impacts. But let me.
Mr. Felix, are you there? Okay, it seems to be a
having some structural I think, repair to the foundations of our economy. You see, those who are on fixed wages are those who really suffer the most all the time. Because while your salary is, pegged at 100,000, inflation takes away a lot of that, value. And, meanwhile, salary increase does not rise as quickly as, that trend of inflation. And then, of course, part of the problem we have in the economy and in any transiting economy is that, there's excess labor in the labor market. So the employer is aware. When you tell the private employer to hire a security man, for instance, that's getting paid 35,000 instead of at least, 70,000, he says, look, if he doesn't want to take 35,000, he can go hire somebody else, because he has confidence that there are people out there who are unemployed for now who, from where he may, get a replacement. But see, what this president is doing, and the calculation, is that as the economy rebounds, more investments, more, foreign investments, domestic investments begin to come in. As the economy expands, which is already expanding, what you find is that the excess labor in the market will become gainfully, pulled into the productive sector. And that will make the labor market thinner, forcing even the most miserly employer in the private sector, in the informal sector, to see that he must retain his workers by increasing wages. Those are the last to benefit. Those who benefit today, who are already benefiting, are those who are producing value, whether they're growing crops or selling produce or providing services. Those are able to make adjustments in their income and in their intake, so that they are able to prosper even under this transitional period. So we hope that private sector people will, I think, help government and help our people to follow this.
All right, Mr. Felix Morka. Mr. Felix Morka, I mean, I'm sure you're also aware that the current inflation rate stands at 23.71%. So if we're throwing it to the private sector, where they have to, there's electricity tariff that has gone on. The private sector have to pay for that. There's fuel subsidy, and diesel has gone up, as well as, premium motor spirit. There's also the companies are also distressed with the current taxation, which they have to also, multiple taxation, they have to deal with all of these. And then we're looking at them also employing and paying 70,000. But that's a conversation we're going to have. We'll continue this conversation. Please bear with us. We have to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at other aspects and areas as we assess 2 years in office of Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. We are indeed assessing and taking a look at the scorecard of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2 year in office. And of course, we have Mr. Felix Morka, who of course has been speaking to us about the entirety of what the 2 years looks like as we look into another 2 years to come ahead, basically. So right before the break, we were discussing about the hardship that Nigerians are faced with. And I'm going to go back to my question. I mean, I did ask about the CNG. The president had promised that buses would be, evenly distributed. Nigerians would not have to pay so much for transportation. We're going to 3 years because whether we like it or not, today marks a new start to another year. And we've not seen these CNG buses. We're not seeing Nigerians shouting for joy that their sufferings has been alleviated. Does it seem like there's a lot of promises made, but fulfilling these promises are far-fetched? Or do you think that the administration is chewing on too much that they can swallow?
Mr. Morka, could you
Morka, did you get my question?
I believe your device is on mute, your audio. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yes. If you can tell me, yes. I think the government is doing exactly what it said it would do with respect to the CNG rollout. As I indicated earlier, the CNG, just like filling stations around the country, are mostly private investments. They're private people who bring their money to build filling stations around the country, in the neighborhoods. They do that. What government has done is to create this facility and to make available this system of energy to power our vehicles. Government itself is providing buses and helping private individuals to fit, even delivering free kits to individuals who are interested to convert their vehicles to be CNG compliant, if you will. Now that is going on, but I think that for a country as large as we have, for over 200 million people, it takes some time for even the best effort to become noticeable. Those buses, if they're made in Nigeria, they still need to be made. If they're imported, they still need to be imported. Anyhow, that these are physical things that require time and some coordination to deliver. Private individuals, I know individuals, for instance, who are doing feasibility studies for setting up CNG stations. I think that we've had gas all along in the history of our country, since probably the early years of our country. We've had natural gas, but no government before this one ever considered the prospect or even possibility of putting this to use, to domesticate it the way this government is trying to do. You see, look, I understand, and nobody denies that CNG is not available on the scale that we would like to see it become available. But that process is already underway. And I think that with time, we will see more availability of these buses, even private vehicles. But let me also say this. The last time I was in your studio in Lagos, I was having a conversation with some of your people. And, we were remarking, and I think everybody agreed that even now, there's as though they are, they're powered by petrol. They still give the excuse that fuel is high, even when the source of energy in the vehicle is CNG. So look, there's also a moral question that is raised here that we all need to wrap our minds around and figure out ways of, also getting our people. If you are powered on CNG, then your transport should not be anywhere near what those who are running on fuel are, charge. So look, there's a responsibility for all of us. It's not just government. We almost do our part. And yes, government, I think, takes the flag, and maybe rightfully so. But I think that as a people too, we must, not make things more difficult for our neighbor, especially where we have access to what government has provided to make things easier for us.
Thank you, Mr. Morka. Let's talk about security. I mean, it's one of the most important elements, because without security, no country can function. All the businesses and things we've been talking about won't exist. Mr. President is the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces. And we've recently, in the last 2-3 months, seen an uptick in violence in the northeast and also in the middle belt and plateau and parts of Benue. What would you say is responsible for this? And this seems to have put a dent in the security records of the Tinubu administration. What assessment was made, and what will be done to ensure that security incidents like this minimized? I also want you to speak to the fact that some people believe that the president is not sensitive to matters of insecurity. It was away in France when we had that very dastardly act in Bokos in Plateau State, and others felt he should have cancelled his working visit and come back to Nigeria. How do you respond to this? 2 questions.
Let me start with the last part of your question. I think that the president of the Federal Republic is the president wherever he is, anywhere he is. His authority to govern is not diminished by distance, because part of his responsibility also, extends to, travels and, conducting, foreign policy and foreign engagements that sometimes also, hinge on the need to mobilize interest and support and investment in our country. So those trips are not just, they're not pleasure trips. There's trips that are sometimes very beneficial. Some of the, I think, value we are now seeing in, people coming with, investments to Nigeria, has to do with some of those, trips where agreements are reached and deals are struck and benefits, ultimately flow to our economy. So let's not diminish it as though it's not important. I think it's important. Yes, the security of our people is also paramount. I think no government trifles with that. No government that is, serious will, I think, play hokey pokey with, the lives of our people. And this government certainly is not the one that will take, security lightly. And everything this president has done, from providing our troops with the kind of support that we haven't seen before, from providing moral support, even extending to paying off things that have to do with insurance for our troops, who, by the way, are doing a fantastic job. I think we need to acknowledge what the government is doing. Now, it's the equipment. Government is providing equipment to these troops to strengthen them and make them even more effective in combating this evil that we have attacking us. But you must also understand that the war on terror and even banditry, these are asymmetrical war. They're not your conventional warfare where our army will simply acquire a target and take it down. These are shadowy figures, heavily, I think, just driven by evil, by commitment to do maximum damage. These are people who simply blend in with our population. They strike opportunistically and disappear into the forest or wherever it is they hide out. So, and whatever drives them, whatever the motivation is, whether it's money or ideology, some devious ideology or whatever that drives them, it drives them. But take in the figures. Over 13,000 of them have been killed, neutralized, over the last 2 years. Over 18,000 or so, arrested, captured, and demobilized. you know, a lot of hostages released, nearly 10,000. Now, imagine that. Now, if these figures are coming out of the, you know, those who are attacking our peace and security, then it means that, you know, there's something else going on. And government is trying to figure that out. Because, you know, the more you take them out, neutralize them, it appears that they go regroup and then, you know, come back. But we must not forget that this is not an exclusive Nigerian experience. All of our neighboring countries are also going through the same thing. And we are the biggest, you know, country in this neighborhood. So if things are happening in small countries that don't nearly have the kind of resources we have, you can imagine what the incentive for this, you know, terrorists to even cross the borders to do an exploits and return. You know, our borders are also very long and open. We don't yet have the opportunity, like, you know, the U.S. president to build, you know, a wall to, you know, better secure our borders. So, you know, again, collaboration with our neighbors is, you know, has been the best, you know, alternative that we have to secure our borders and deny these, you know, insurgents and terrorists, you know, free passage. But, you know, make no mistake, our, you know, armed forces are doing, you know, a heck of a job. And I think we need to support them more. We need to pray for them because, you know, it's not easy to be in the front lines of, you know, defending our freedoms. It's not. And I think that when we cast and frame this, you know, debate, I would, you know, recommend that we preface it with some tribute to those who are fighting this war. Because, you know, we all can, you know, speak all we want. We can analyze the security all we want, you know, but for those who are in the front line, who are, you know, dealing with these bullets, you know, flying up and down, whether from their guns or from the guns of the enemies, it's not easy. That is a demonstration of ultimate patriotism, and we need to salute their courage and service.
Territorial integrity, and also many have lost their lives in the line of duty. I also want to comment on the increment. It happened under the Tinubu administration of the daily feeding allowance of members of the armed forces. It was 1,000 naira, I believe, or 1,005. It's now 3,000 naira a day, and some have said, you know, it's still grossly inadequate for men that carry 50 kg gear and have to risk their lives. But because of time, let's move on to another issue. It's been 2 years, half time on this administration, and the president took some bold policy moves, which many commentators have commended. They say we've been postponing doomsday in the past. It had to happen. Subsidy was removed. We had the unification of the exchange rate, which had shocking effects on the economy. When do, and the presidency and its handlers, that's what led to the rolling out of CNGs. There were palliative measures. Some have said, you know, many Nigerians have not felt the effect. But beyond the palliatives, the president, I remember Mr. President's speech, he said we should tighten our belts. This is a sacrifice for a better Nigeria. It's 2 years now. When, Mr. Morka, when do we begin to see some of these policies come to fruition? When do we have a better standard of living? And when will this cost of living burden ease from Nigerians?
Well, the worst is behind us, to use the words of Mr. President. The worst of this moment is already behind us. And right now, things are beginning to look up. I am sure you will acknowledge that there's been some, you know, noticeable reduction in the price of food. Maybe not on all commodities, but in some of the basic staple, we're seeing, you know, some downward slide. And we're hoping that that trend will continue into the future and, you know, come down some more. You know, feel more at ease to afford their basic necessities. That's the intention of government. And as the economy expands, as it's already now expanding, we're also going to see more, you know, employment opportunities, you know, come about. More people leaving the, you know, labor market, you know, get hopefully, you know, a fair wage for their labor. Now, it is hard to put a calendar time to when, Uhuru will be with us. Just like in countries where, this transition was made, even, the big China, there was no calendar time. There was nobody in China who said, this is the date. Let's, count down to that date when everything will be fine. It's about progressive realization of the objectives of the reform. It is progressiveness. You can see all of the indicators looking up. Financial Times just, a couple of days ago did an editorial where they said that, look, a lot of people haven't even noticed that Nigeria has not only turned the corner, but is beginning to look good. And all of a sudden, the population of this country, these 230, 40 million people, as a market, is now beginning to, I think, become, self-evident to investors that, look, this is a place you can take your money and have a foreign exchange system that is reasonably predictable, have, the fundamentals, fiscal policy that makes sense, that, supports development. I mean, it was our brother, Mr. Femi Otedola, the other day, who was, speaking and celebrating the reforms of this administration, how the reforms, gave him the courage to invest about 350 billion, if I'm not mistaken, in the First Bank. Now, that expansion, or that investment in the First Bank, not only will help that bank to consolidate, giving job security to those who are already employed, but also may, help employ a few more people in the bank, just like other companies are receiving these investments and also expanding. So the measure of success is progressive. It's not, by the calendar. And I think that that's true of any other country, whether it's Singapore or Malaysia, any country that has, evolved from, this struggle to a place now where they are more, comfortable and growing their economies. I think that it is, a progressive process. And I think that we need to not, make our people feel like because we don't have a date set, therefore, all of this is for nothing. I think it's for something.
But the worry, but there's a cause for worry, because now that we are depending on time, we all know that time waits for no one. And for those on the other end, talk about the Nigerians who are feeling the brunt. They wouldn't want to really hear that we don't have time, but we are certain that it will work. Remember, the president has just 2 more years in office, except we're saying that everything governance has stopped, just like what we've seen in the political landscape, where politicking is now the focus, because it's starting to look so like everything concerning governance and catering to the needs of the Nigerians is at a certain level, while the focus is we must get the president. We must get the president the next term. Is that what it means now? So Nigerians should just wait first, give us time. Let's focus on getting the president going. Mr. Felix, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. You are playing on words, and I don't think that that's necessarily helpful.
No, I'm asking a question, because you're saying time. I mean, you've mentioned. Let me reiterate so that we're clear.
No, I heard you.
You said there's time.
Let me speak.
Nigerians are saying how long a time?
I understood your question and I answered your question, but for the purpose of emphasis, let me say that no one has abandoned governance. The president and his entire team, and even the state governors are hard at work addressing all of the problems that we have been discussing. Nobody has taken their eyes off the ball. But we're in a democracy where people who are in government, who are politicians, also must engage one way or the other in that democratic activity. The fact that you're president doesn't mean that when you have your NEC meeting, you shouldn't attend your NEC meeting. Or when you have a national summit meeting, you shouldn't attend your national summit meeting. How many minutes does it take? At most, an hour, 2 hours of time does not do nothing to take away the focus of government on on governance. And besides, the bureaucracy they're not participating in politics. They're there. That's their job, irrespective of the identity of the government in power. Those in the bureaucracy are there permanently implementing policy and carrying out activities of government. Look, let me come back to the issue of time, because you make it sound like the government does not know what timelines. I said to you, look, Nigerians are discerning people. Let's not present Nigerians like they don't think. Nigerians are thinking people, and they are smart people. They understand this conversation more than you think. So when you frame it and you try to, speak about time as though somebody is saying, oh, this is going to be an indefinite thing. I already told you that some of the benefits of these policies are already with us as we speak. They're beginning to have impact. And I think I gave you, some of the examples that I gave. So the point is that, like CNG, I told you, CNG will be available ultimately. Look, and this is just midterm. In the fullness, even of this first term of this president, I believe that if we have this conversation, close to the end of the 4-year term of this president, maybe your question will not be as, as you are framing it. You may be, a bit more, I think, accepting that CNG buses and vehicles and, service stations are more available now. Maybe still not to the extent that we would like, because, nobody said that in a term of a president to 4 years, and that of the governors as well, to 4 years, local government maybe 3 years. There's a reason for that. And understanding that you may introduce policy that even you may not finish. Look at the Eco-Atlantic City, the whole reclamation of the ocean in Lagos that has saved that city from the perennial, affliction of massive erosion, destruction. It was conceived by this president when he was governor. But till today, generations of governors have continued to implement that project. That is what government is supposed to be. Government is not an activity, it's a process. So look, I think we need to, again, speak about these things in a way that helps our people to get a perspective that enables them to understand what's going on and to, prepare themselves as citizens to government, but also, yes, critique government where they need to critique government and make suggestions, which government has a duty to listen to. But I think that we shouldn't, say that because nobody's telling you by the 12th of July next year, everything will be fine. Is that what you want to hear? Well, if that's what you want to hear, I'm not able to give that, timeline. All I know is that this government is committed to using its facility to actually deliver all of the promises it's made. And that's what is going on. And I think that there's global acknowledgement that this government growing the economy at nearly 3.8%, in the last quarter of last year. That is phenomenal. There are many developed countries today that are not growing their economies by even 1%. So look, I think we need to, also celebrate the accomplishments while we are preparing to do more, to achieve all of the other goals that this government has set.
Now, Mr. Felix Morka, just before we wrap up this conversation, yesterday also marked 10 years of the All Progressive Congress continuous stay in office, 2 years of President Tinubu and 8 years of former President Muhammadu Buhari. And if you look back at the PDP years, if you look at the metrics, the economy and other things, many Nigerians will say, look, that the Naira to dollar rate and so many other issues. They will say it looks like those were very good times. As we inch towards the 2027 elections, as we've entered, like my colleague said, the third year of this administration, what should Nigerians look out for? And are you hopeful? And should they be hopeful?
I'm very hopeful. We at the All Progressives Congress are very hopeful, and I know that many Nigerians are very hopeful. But let me speak to this cross-reference that's made very often, but it's also a very not a very accurate, I think, depiction of the story. Now, you say that under the PDP years, Naira was, maybe, I don't know what it was.
The price of commodities, fuel,
bag of rice was cheaper. The
you said we don't have time. I understood the question, but you're taking my time. Let
no
me
problem.
just
go ahead. We're just highlighting.
Yes, look. Now, in those years, all that government did and government had to do was simply dictate the value of the Naira. That was the policy. Government, central bank would simply wake up in the morning and say that Naira today will exchange for 200 Naira to $1. And then, even when that was not the value of the Naira, government and the CBN defended that value that they had declared by pumping our scarce resources into that system, wasting, our national resources, defending our currency. And then that way you can import things at that rate that is dictated, that is not market determined, right? Now, yes, in that moment, you go out to the fuel, you want to buy, a bag of rice, they tell you it's this amount. But rice for a long time was imported into this country. A lot of the rice we ate was imported through the years of the PDP. It is only in the Buhari years that a committed effort was made to begin to encourage our farmers to grow rice, for example. Now, what I'm saying is that when this government came along and did what everyone, even those who competed for that office of president, agreed had to be done to harmonize the dual exchange rate, that created an opportunity for mad corruption and exploitation, where somebody will give somebody $1 million at 460 naira at the time that this president took over, and they turn around and sell and round trip that money for 900 naira to $1 and make over 100% profit without leaving their bedroom. You see, this casual cross comparison between those years and now is a false comparison. Yes, the figures, you can't question them because that was but the explanation is in the fact that the value of the naira at that time was set arbitrarily. And that was why we didn't have meaningful investment.
Yeah, but the cost,
people didn't want to
I really wish we had time. The cost of living.
Somebody else was making the money. So, that's exactly what was going on at the time. So it wasn't because today anybody has done anything wrong or that this government is not doing enough. It's because this government is trying to strengthen the economy, position the country to grow exponentially going forward. That's the difference.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Mr. Felix Morka, Publicity Secretary of the All Progressive Congress. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And hopefully we can get you in the studio anytime soon. Thank you. Thank you so much.
When I'm in Lagos, it'll be my pleasure to come to the studio physically.
We'll be waiting. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Let's move on now to what's still to come here on Breakfast Central at the top of the hour for 9. We do have breakfast headlines, which begins right away.
This is Breakfast Headlines, and I'm Benga Aboroa. We begin with legislative matters, where the House of Representatives Constitution Review Committee is set to meet with the Nigerian Governors Forum on the 23rd of July 2025 as part of its efforts to build consensus and secure support for key constitutional amendment bills currently under consideration. The committee will also hold a joint retreat with the speakers of the 36 state houses of assembly and members of the Senate Constitution Review Committee. The goal is to align positions and ensure uniformity in the proposed amendments across the country. In a bid to promote public awareness and transparency, the committee will engage media stakeholders, including the Nigerian Guild of Editors, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, and the Nigerian Broadcasters Association, as well as civil society organizations. Talking President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's 2 years in office, where the All Progressive Congress has rated the president high on performance. The APC National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Morka, revealed that the Tinubu administration has taken bold policy steps with far-reaching economic and security impacts. He said that the government has broken away from a culture of inertia and is now steering the country on a road to prosperity.
All of the indications that we have referenced, and there's so many more we can't even reference because of time, are pointing clearly to a near future where we begin to see very remarkable, significant, and sustainable difference. There's no country of the world, none whatsoever, from the east to the west, that have made this transition from the doldrums where the citizens didn't have to endure this kind
of momentary, transient, adverse impacts like we are enjoying today. Which is why at the APC, we are full of gratitude to our people.
And now to judicial matters, where Edo State Governor has hailed the ruling of the Court of Appeal affirming the election victory, describing it as a victory for the people of Edo State. The judgment saw a 3-member panel of justices dismiss the petition filed by Asue Ighodalo, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the September 21, 2024 governorship election. The appellate court upheld the earlier decision in the election tribunal, which had ruled in favor of Governor Monday Okpebholo. Reacting to the judgment in Benin City, Governor Okpebholo praised the judiciary for its professionalism and integrity.
In the game of politics, you talk to the people, and the people will accept you. The PDP, their time is over. They did nothing for 8 years. Why do you think our people will vote for them? And what you are seeing is in court today is what Edo people have decided, that they need a change, and that is the change you are seeing. For me, I feel that Edo people right now, they are being liberated. Yes. Peace is back to Edo. Yes. And Edo has spoken. No man can change it. No. And God has spoken. No man can change it. Yes. So that is the truth. My kudos to the judiciary. These people were ready. They have stolen a lot of Edo money. They were ready to throw it. But they said no. We have a name to protect. We have integrity. And we need to protect the law of the land. That's what you are seeing today. It's not about me now. It's about the judiciary. The integrity of the...
The Nigerian Center for Disease Control says Lassa fever and meningitis have claimed 366 lives across 24 states so far this year. Between January and May, Lassa fever was responsible for 141 deaths from 733 confirmed cases, with Ondo, Bauchi and Edo states worst affected. Most of the victims were between the ages of 21 and 30. The NCDC says it has activated national emergency operations centers to tackle both outbreaks in collaboration with state and federal partners. While Lassa fever cases are reportedly on the decline, health officials are urging continued vigilance, warning that both diseases remain significant public health threats. In the meantime, a coalition of parents, health experts and civil society groups is raising alarm over the increase in ease with which Nigerian children access flavored tobacco and e-cigarettes. Speaking to News Central in Abuja, the group said it has gathered overwhelming evidence that minors are able to purchase these products freely across the country. They also condemned the aggressive marketing of nicotine, citing celebrity endorsements and packaging styles specifically designed to appeal to the youth.
I mean, it's not just children. So apparently people below the age of 25 still have brains that are developing, and nicotine can affect developing brains. It can lead to a greater propensity for addiction. There's also evidence that intake of vapes, cigarettes, because of the nicotine, it raises your adrenaline, spikes blood pressure, and increases the risk of stroke and heart attacks, down the line. So there are real health issues with this. Brain development in children, addiction, and also serving as a gateway drug for other tobacco products and nicotine-containing products. So the issue is that this is not a device used to quit smoking, but it's something that initiates you into the habits of smoking.
stay with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's take a look at the front pages of the papers on a Friday morning. Joining us is Public Affairs Analyst, the one, a.k.a. Mr. Sia. Mr. Theophilus Akatugba joins us this morning.
It's a pleasure to
Good
be
to
here
have you.
once again.
Yes.
Your beautiful studios and, you know, your new waiting room.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave that. I said, you guys should move this. We must come there and do this.
I like that.
It's very comfortable.
Very nice. I must commend those who did it. Nice work.
Thank you. Don't forget to be part of the front pages. You can call the number on the screen. The numbers are open now. The phone line is opened. Let's start off with our very first paper there, which is the Punch. Midterm review. Everyone is talking about the president. We just had the National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Morka, and, you know, highlighting some of the key strides that the APC government has achieved in the past 2 years. Number 3, that's year 3 starts today. Today marks day 1 of the 3rd year. Anyway, APC fights back as Labour counters Tinubu's scorecard. Remember that APC had said that they mark him high. Ruling party, Ribadu defend Tinubu's reforms. NLC, TUC, Amnesty decry worsening hardship and insecurity. Tinubu's cabinet aviation sector struggles to stay aloft in turbulent skies. All right, that's a very depictive, you could say, headlines. Aviation sector struggles to stay aloft in turbulent skies.
Nice play of words.
Yeah, nice play of words. WAEC under fire as exam chaos packs outrage. Let's start with that story.
Yes,
WAEC.
ridiculous.
Let's start with that story. We had our fair share of talking about it, but I think
I know I sympathize. I'm very close to WAEC. I'm a friend of the WAEC family, and I know what it takes every year. I was doing a television program for the organization for many years, reporting the activities, and I got to understand how things were done. But what we have seen now is a decline. And it's a decline. Yeah. Every other WAEC head will be very, you know, will be wondering what has gone wrong. How could that happen? You know, and there must be explanation. You know, we are full. Whoever allowed that exam to run into that hour, I'm sure does not have the approval of the heads of WAEC, because obviously nobody would tell you.
It's commonsensical.
Absolutely. Yes. So sometimes I think people do things to discredit or sabotage efforts of others, because that has dented the entire system and thrown dust in the integrity of WAEC examinations. I really sympathize with them. I feel WAEC must now begin to work harder to look at the people that are supervisors and those who are, you know, leaders of the examination processes in different parts of the country. We have in a very strange, you know, environment now where the WAEC, our educational systems are being attacked. We heard that the JAM issue we talked about, JAM accepted, but they discovered that there were people behind this development. It's very painful. That
what do you think? Whose table does responsibility lie, and what punitive measures should be taken?
It's always the head. The buck stops at the head, the table of the head of national office of the West African Examinations.
But do you micromanage every single
Well,
stuff
you don't. But as a leader, you take the blame, then go down there and look at who has caused this.
But isn't it worrisome that the Minister of Education hasn't even said anything?
It's difficult for him to make a statement so hastily, because, you know, he's been...
No, 48 hours.
48 hours. I understand. You know, they want to first know, because it's a very delicate subject.
Mr. Akatugba, I'm not going to agree with you.
If you say the man should take a position...
No, I'm not saying he should take a position.
Okay.
He should address
in public relations,
this issue.
You could address that, you are aware of what is going on. However, there are investigations ongoing right now, and you would...
by ignoring millions of Nigerians.
I mean, sorry, I'm very passionate about it, because it's painful.
Yeah, very
painful. I saw it. Why I'm passionate is because I saw someone I know who put up a post and said that his neighbor, he saw the girl coming back late at night. At around 10:30.
That's serious.
And I'm like, really? I tried reaching out. I wanted him on this program, but no response.
Well, well, you know, the Minister of Education, by the structure of WAEC, is not directly involved in the organization. Because WAEC is a West African.
Yes.
Now, if it's NECO, that is directly under his purview. But WAEC is a West African, you know, affair. and it has a kind of headship that is not directly under the control of the ministry, though there are government representations in the WAEC committee. So it might want to get a feedback before it can react, you know, and that's what I think.
Understandable.
Okay.
Now let's move on to our next paper, the Daily Independent. Poultry farmers face mounting losses as demand plummets. And what's the result? I mean, what's causing this lack of demand? You can put two and two together. I guess it's the
we all
economic
know
situation.
that the common challenge in our country today is cost of living and the erosion of the buying power of the people. And so if you used to buy just one egg or two eggs, or you are buying a crate, people hardly can buy that now. People now scale down to buy, you know, just, you know, a few eggs here and there. They are not able to buy the way they used to buy. So naturally, demand will go down, and demand has gone down in every aspect. So this is what that is easily felt. Because the economic reforms that are going on in our country, what we have done is that we have underrated them. We've not actually discussed that this is what is going to happen, and we've not also told the people that it's not yet over.
When Mr. Felix Morka, he just told us this morning that worst is over.
No, what I'm saying is when the conversation started, the worst for government is over. It's not yet over for the people.
Okay.
You know, government has survived. The government could have collapsed. The government could have run into bankruptcy, and then we all collapse with it. But they have survived. I mean, there's hope. But then all the policies must now cascade down. In the meantime, there will be difficulties. You know, as time went on, people's buying power declined much more because they kept making do. Revenues are not coming up. Yeah. So until things are, I know the next phase will be how this will touch the people and settle down better. Unless that is done, we will continue to see that maybe the reform did not. But every governmental structure and segment of government, they feel it. They know that, okay, we are doing better. But we need to come down to the citizens.
And the nutrients in eggs for children, for example, it helps. It's very important. It helps them their education and cognitive processes. So it's not beyond just food for food. Sid Old Tar, elected to succeed additional as AFDB president, Nigeria's own Adewumi Additionals.
His tenure has ended and a new man has taken over.
And I believe he did quite a lot of significant things during his
time in office.
And some Nigerians have been saying, you know, he should throw his heart into the murky waters of Nigerian politics, that he will make a fine president.
Nigerians are very good at pushing you into trouble sometimes
They've also said
yes, they might not give him the required support. You see, Nigerians are not, politics should have been that when you believe in the idea of the man, you also support him with resources.
Not by mouth.
Not because you say throw in your heart in the ring and everyone is expecting him to fund the process from his pocket. And then you expect him also to be such a great leader, having spent so much money to win the office. Everyone relied on him. Everyone took money from him. Everyone was waiting for empowerment from him. And he's the only man that is not empowered and haven't won the office. So we need to also change the people who say the political food soldiers.
Or looking for messiahs.
We need to see how we can get into the process and support.
On the flip side, can we also look at it that Nigerians are dead tired of the inability of her leaders to be able to stand tall and deliver what other leaders are delivering in different countries that practice democracy. So when Nigerians get a taste or a feel of what an individual has done, they kind of like quickly signal and
especially on the international level.
International, even local. It's clarity of it's what we saw in the 2023 elections, while many were moving towards Peter Obi, because they saw antecedents and said, oh, wait. Okay, this is it. Now, it's not that they didn't see this similar antecedents in the current president, but they looked at it that he's wearing the same cloth of a political party that had been in power for 8 years and yet nothing came out of it.
Yeah, but the problem...
So I think we should look at it from that aspect. The tiredness is what makes them feel that, oh, you would do better, you would do better.
If you get tired, then you don't even understand the race you are in. It's not a sprint. You can't throw your weight behind Peter Obi and get tired at the first contest. That means you really didn't understand. You support and be ready to go the full haul. It's like a war. You don't go there and think victory is sure today. So it's a struggle. Even Donald Trump won the election. He lost. And he came back and got the support, and the people supported him to return. It's not Peter Obi and his supporters should not give up on Nigeria because of one thing that happened in the last election. There is still a future for the country, and we must continue.
We have a caller, Mr. Paul. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Hello? Can you hear us?
Okay.
Can you hear us? Oh, I don't think he's there.
Yes.
All right, Benga. Let's take a look at
there's another story here on the front page of the Daily Independent. Tinubu's addiction to loans is reckless and dangerous, says former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. If you do recall, it was under the Obasanjo presidency that they got us Paris debt forgiveness. And we started on a clean slate, but now, since the debt is piling up here and there, what do you make of the whole of Mr. Atiku's comments and us seeking $24 billion and some yen?
I used to think that really when I see sometimes this argument, the government in power want to borrow, those in opposition always we criticize them. Then when the opposition wins the office, later we begin the borrowing, the opposition. Go to Ghana, the same. Go to everywhere you have democracy, there is this quarrel that you are borrowing us into debt, we don't need loans. The question is, why do they borrow? Is it that we don't have enough inflow? The answer obviously is that our revenues are not as good.
It's depleted.
Most of it is used to service debt we already owe, and you need to galvanize development. So every businessman will always, but according to
sustainable
Peter Obi used to say, I borrow Peter Obi will say, there's nothing wrong in borrowing. Because when he was asked, how would you have managed this floating of the currency, he said, would have borrowed. So borrowing is not a problem, it's not the issue. What is the issue is how's the money utilized. That's where Nigerians are questioning. And so this is where we should focus on. Because you need money to develop. Even the Western world, America is fighting now to cut down its debt. Donald Trump says America is in debt and they keep owing. Japan is 100 and something to the GDP. So if we keep pandering to these cheap arguments, then we won't be able to develop.
But when you dismiss it as cheap, they do have valid reasons for opposing.
Yes.
In the sense of the trust deficit and past antecedents of, white telephone projects, money is not accounted for and all of that. But I believe they have
let's take this caller. Okay, we'll talk about this borrowing. We're not done yet, but let's take this caller. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Paul, please go ahead with your contribution.
So my question is this. Why is it that the policies of the government is not affecting the politicians in Nigeria? They are growing fatter, living huge and big, while the Nigerian masses suffer. Because if the policy is targeted at changing Nigeria, that policy will affect everybody in that country. Like Uruguay, when the president came in, that man used veto until he served his nation. He just passed on recently, and it was the country that isn't built for him. He had no driver. The policies were targeted at changing Uruguay, and he did change it. He never amassed wealth for himself or the politicians. But in the case of Nigeria, we are being told to tighten our belts, but those who are leading us are not tightening their belts. They are living huge, big. Nigerians are suffering. The policy is fine. When there is going to be a change, when...
Oh, but I assume we understand what he said.
What he said is that we don't operate the same system with Europe. comparing us with Europe.
No, he said Uruguay.
Uruguay, yeah, that's just a very extreme comparison. It's not.
And the president he was referring to was
I
very
know
extreme.
him, that's very extreme. You see, Nigerians pick and just compare us. You have to compare the history, the culture. We have a royal, what you call monarchical system from our traditions before we got democracy. So a lot of things, we still have the military rule that was unitary, that the politicians still think. So there's a lot of work to be done. Just picking and just comparing us will not serve your purpose. It makes your people just keep looking bad. They have a developmental trajectory, which is what is their culture. Now, he who is speaking now, if he's sent there to be a local government chairman, will he tell the people that, okay, since we don't have money, I'm going to work, I'm going to use it? Will he do the same? Because it's not easy to just criticize and not also hold the same standard. I believe that politicians need to be frugal. They need to be frugal. They need to be sensitive. That is the point. But I see too much of Nigerians demanding from politicians what they do not earn. Nigerians love it. Nigerians only criticize when they are not benefiting.
How so?
Average political follower, supporter, is looking for the man he supports to give him bread and take care of his needs.
But is that a bad thing?
I don't think...
That is to the extent that the politician will look for money to feed those people who his supporters do not support him with resources. They only support him with presence and body, and he takes care of a large machinery of men and women financially.
I mean, people want you to do your job.
I don't know, but I don't.
I mean, fix public infrastructure, do your job.
Yeah, I mean, if you fix the roads,
I mean, we're not going to politicians to ask
when you
for
fix
money.
the road, I give you a story of fixing the road.
If the roads are good,
I fixed a popular politicians in Delta told me they wanted to do a project in a community, and they went there, called the community, and said, we are doing this project. The youth there said no, that they should give them the money they want, that it's not that project they want. So, and he had to call in mobile police to leave the environment.
But that's just, I would say that's possibly...
I'll give you one story of one environment. And other politicians will tell you, they wake up in the morning, they see a lineup of men and women in front of their houses. They want this, they want that. All this you are demanding from that politician, it's not as if he worked and had earned a salary that will be able to take care of you.
Well, I think I might have a different opinion on this.
We'll come back.
And the reason is because the caller said that
why are they not frugal? Why are they living lavishly?
And it's obvious. You tell people tighten your belt, but you're not tightening yours.
We're seeing 50
and it's just obvious.
And
we don't need to be blind to see it. So I think that's the angle we should look at. Let's leave those community ones are basic. We know that these challenges will come, and we know these challenges come as a result of what the politicians have equally done. Because prior to elections, you mobilize these guys, you give them money, you do all of that. What do you think will happen after you win? Wouldn't you give them more money?
The power is in the citizen's hand to always not make the person have an excuse to take money from the treasury.
Okay, we have a phone call from Elder David. Let's take that call. Good morning, Elder David.
Not make the person have an excuse to take...
Can you speak up, please, Elder David? We can't hear you. Please.
Good morning, sir. May God bless all of you there.
Thank you.
But there's one thing I want people to understand. The problem of Nigeria is leadership. And if we must know, as we all are there, I pray by the grace of God, that most of you will retire one day and be enjoying what you labor for. What Tinubu is doing today, we should praise him because he inherited a problem. For only 2 years, all those programs we are seeing, road network and others, are they actually correct? If they are correct, it's happening in all the whole states all over, then why are we doubting him? He's not Jesus Christ. Even in America, it is developing. This comes to solve a problem created by the same people regrouping today. I want to tell you, I retired in 1998. Obasanjo closed down 34 parastatals, sold all the whole asset. All of us will lose our pension rights. I was in PDP. Where are those who have worked for Obasanjo? And El-Rufai today was the Director General of BPE. Atiku, all the states, all the Minister of State, we under him. that he sold all the whole things, and it could have provided jobs for millions of youths, and most of these people have died. It is this government of APC that comes 2015 that started paying some of those things. May the soul of those pensioners that die rest in peace. You know, people will work and retire. Let us praise this government. Within 2 years, they have done a lot. They have just approved 780 billion now to pay pensioners. When somebody talk to say, are you taking loan? That person must be wicked. So the pension, is that what you are saying? Or is that what you are saying, that all those don't know what they are doing? Africa is the most indebted nation and the most richest. It's because we have the asset to pay that. And what Tinubu is doing today in every state, the first lady of the country is even doing the same thing. The governor wife are even more busy distributing other things to the grassroots. That is why you are seeing people.
All right. Thank you, Elder David. We need to move on now. I think we need to put a time into our callers so we know how we can just make your points and then we move. We don't have time. We have more papers to also cover. So, I mean, basically, thanks for your summation. I think what we've done in the past 2 days, not just here at News Central, but Nigerians in general, everybody has looked at the good, and they've looked at the bad, and they've looked at the ugly. Coincidentally, I mean, before the caller, we've talked about the good in an initial conversation with the Publicity Secretary, and we've mentioned some here as well. But now, the caller and, of course, the paper lands on the ugly, and the ugly is that if you tell people to tighten their belt, what are you also doing at the top level as well to tighten your belt? I think it's just a basic conversation.
Yes, you see,
there's nothing to attack sentiments.
Those states to tighten our belt across all levels is one way to keep our country, you know, financially stable, and you know, you must lead by example. So I agree. I do not have anything against that. But I want to say, out of the monies that they want to borrow, the president says backlog of pension arrears. That is money directly to the people, and not only to the people, to the vulnerable, the oppressed, and the disappointed. So if they can apply the money to that, that is reflecting the economy, and those people will have buying power. Absolutely. And then their lives will improve.
Absolutely.
So if they can do that, that's
absolutely.
beautiful.
I mean, we agree with you. In all the borrowings, that was clear. The only fear for some Nigerians is that, one, they fear that, I mean, during Obasanjo's time, Nigeria's debt burden was 2.1 billion. And then if you look at the late President Musa Yar'Adua, and combined with President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, Nigeria had a debt burden of about 7.3 billion. And now, if you move upwards and then come to President Muhammadu Buhari's time, it increased from 7.3 billion to 41 billion. 41.8. Now, you see where Nigeria's agitation started from 7.3 billion dollars to 41.8 billion. And if should President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gets the nod of the National Assembly and then he goes ahead to borrow, it's going to take Nigeria to it's going to add 24 billion dollars to the current debt stock that we have, which means that, I mean, while looking at the analysis, it means that every Nigerian will owe in debt over 800,000 naira, you know, in debt.
Now, that's a beautiful analysis. What happened to Buhari? Buhari took the decision to remove subsidy. Buhari ruled the country under the
But he had said
under the most difficult. No, not ex-President Buhari I'm talking about, not Tinubu.
Okay.
Buhari borrowed to sustain subsidy and then subsidize the dollar. When the global economy was tumultuous, we had COVID. The oil rate was low, our revenue was down, and it was just borrowing to sustain all of these burdens. So, but Nigerians, he doesn't have a praise. He has vilification as the worst because he made a mistake not to have removed the subsidy when he should have.
Anyway, let's look at the other, the other aspect of the papers as well. Let's look at this one. It says, Fubara asked Rivers people to thank Tinubu for intervening in state crisis.
Must be very painful to his supporters.
Very painful.
A big blow and like a complete, it threw everyone under the bus.
I saw that statement yesterday.
Yes, and you know, Governor Fubara lacked the tact and his capacity. I think as an accountant, he was not very interactive. So thrown into where he has to speak, he he speaks in a manner that almost disappoints everybody, because that's exactly his feeling that he has expressed.
I mean,
and that, to me,
must be more circumspect.
Yes, it must be disappointing to everyone who ever threw a word of support for him.
Yeah, in that statement I read yesterday, he also said that the reconciliation process is almost done.
Yeah.
He's looking forward to return back to office. And not just him, but of course the 27
what I want to say is that Nigerians, I noticed something.
So
Nigerians, majority of people who are in the political support spectrum, they are so emotional, they are not rational, logical, they just pander based on either their hatred for the individuals concerned. It's not really realistic. You have to really be very realistic when you are dealing with politicians. That's why I don't engage myself in promoting the cause of individual politicians. I talk about nation building, not about the actions of individual politicians, because it's very unpredictable.
I can imagine that.
There's a story here which I feel, I mean, if you have loss of lives of Nigerians, it should be headline news, but it's just somewhere there. But it's headline news on one of the papers, I believe it's the Daily Times. 21 dead, dozens missing in deadly Niger flash floods. NIMET had been sounding the alarm months ago. The Nigerian Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has also raised this alarm. I understand this is an act of God, but 21 dead is a high number. Could things have been done differently? Is there lacks in the system?
Well,
or we should just accept it as an act of God and move on?
Well, the act of God will always take place. It's up to the people. You have places like Japan, US that combat terrible act of God activities like tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis. So this has been recurring every year. They will say flood, flash flood, be prepared, and then it will happen. And then the damage will be done. And then we start reacting to it.
Blaming God.
First, we need to be very, we Nigerians must remember and know that all the drainages are there to take those waters away. The more things you throw out there, you're blocking the chances of the water to go, and those waters will come after you. So you need to remember that. If you see people throwing waste indiscriminately, you need to report to authority or stop them if possible. Don't say it's not your business. It is your business, because by the time the flood destroys your properties and take you and sweep you away, you will not know that it's connected to the act of that man that blocked the drainage in the first place. So there is something that we must own. We must own the care for the environment. It's a very bad sight when you go to all these Sulere area, when I see some of those drainages right there in Agege area. It's a mess. And so, but governments need to be upfront. That's why local government administrations, if they are properly empowered and they have their funding, they should get to work and save the citizens so that we don't lose lives whenever it rains and it's flooded.
I agree. Well, let's look at another aspect of that paper, the Daily Times. If you look at that, it says at the top, it says daily. Let's look at Daily Times. Immigration nabs wanted ritual suspect fleeing Nigeria at Seme border. That's at the top of Daily Times. Let's go to Daily Times quickly. All right. Another one there says, National Day of Mourning, CSOs slam government inaction, says 6,500 killed in a year.
The insecurity that is resurging is could be directly connected to, first, there has been a global upsurge, we know, but Nigeria is like a big market, a very valuable and a very profitable market for crime. And so we need to look at the last man that is supposed to protect Nigeria sometimes trade his role. Because if an immigration officer takes money, sometimes you go to Seme border and you go to Idiroko border. Those who travel without papers, they get through quickly than those who carry the right documents. It becomes like, why did you even carry documents? So they allow people in. If you have money to pay, they might not even check you. And you could move in with ammunition and move out. So we think we are blaming ourselves, we are blaming the government, but we should look at our fellow citizens who are manning the gates. Are they doing the right thing? Are they doing what you call trading the security systems for money? How do you think all these people come into the country and they go out so easily? But we thank God that they have caught this guy this time by whatever vigilance. And so I'm hoping that there's improved vigilance with Ribadu and our interior minister working together. My hope. But don't forget that when there's hardship in the north of Nigeria, the poverty is chronic. And this reform has devastated the place. So when you see a very high level of opposition to the president from the northern part of the country, it's directly connected with what they have planted over the years. They've left the people in penury, and they have thought that that's part of their faith, that to be poor is part of the act of God, so you rely on the next big guy, and that big guy controls you. Now, those numbers have swelled, and those numbers, they are now a time bomb, and they're the ones.
It's a national security issue.
National security issue, and then it's also a call for the northern leaders to indeed sit up as well.
You see, when you didn't do it for many years, and suddenly there is this
paradigm shift or something.
That is, they are
agitation.
Yeah, the people are quiet, but they are very ready for anything, and so there's a lot need to be done.
Thank you so much, Mr. Theophilus. Always a great one having you here.
Thank you very
much. Always
much.
Enjoy the analysis. Any day, anytime.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to all who also called in. And for those calls we couldn't pick in between, we're sorry. You can join us again on Monday morning. It's Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. And we look forward to enjoy the conversations. The assessing President Tinubu's 2 years in office continues. Don't forget the third year kick-started today. So whatever the government needs to be done should start right and immediately. That's all from us here on Breakfast Central. My name is Joe Hansen. Thanking you for watching. Don't forget Breakfast Extra starts tomorrow with Mazino and, of course, Judith. Binga.
Yeah, and I'm Binga Bora. See you next week. Bye-bye.